Iran has elected a new president, Ebrahim Raisi. He's a cleric and senior judge. Raisi will enter office as world powers are trying to revive the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer reports from Tehran.
Last night, his supporters came out to celebrate his victory. Head of the judiciary and a protege of the supreme leader, Raisi talks the talk of a veteran regime insider. I thank Almighty God for the people's trust, he said. But it wasn't so much people's trust that got him elected, rather a stage-managed process that virtually guaranteed he'd win. It looked legit, with TV ads reassuring voters that polling stations would be COVID-safe and candidates' debates. But with the backing of religious authorities, Raisi was a shoo-in. That said, turnout was the lowest in history. Fewer than half of eligible voters cast a ballot.
No.
Layla wouldn't tell me who she voted for.
You won't tell me? No.
But like so many people, she is fed up with the grind of life under U.S. sanctions and sees better relations with America as a way out.
So you would like to see Mr. Biden and Mr. Raisi connect?
Why not?
Here's why not. Raisi, who's already under a Trump-era sanction for alleged human rights abuses, is allied with the Revolutionary Guards. Enemies of the U.S. and backers of Hezbollah, designated a terrorist organization by Washington.
That one's turning inbound.
Also in command of the Iranian Navy boats that harass U.S. warships in the Persian Gulf. But there is one area of probable cooperation, a revived nuclear deal with the U.S. and its allies. Raisi has said he will respect it, in part because he'll benefit politically if Iran's battered economy gets a boost from the lifting of American sanctions.
For more, I want to bring in CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer. She joins us now from Tehran. Elizabeth, President-elect Raisi says that he will respect the nuclear deal, even though it means cooperating with the U.S. and its allies. What do you make of his position?
I think it comes down to money. If the Iranian government signs the nuclear deal and agrees to curb enriching uranium and its enrichment program in general and allows more international surveillance, the U.S. will lift sanctions on Iran and it will be able to sell its oil. At the moment, it is really crippled. It has no income. And so I think that President Raisi is motivated by the idea that he could get some revenue flowing again, and that, of course, would be good for his own popularity.
I wonder, given that economic pragmatism, does that signal to you that he might be open to other reforms?
If you mean reforms in the sense of liberal, open reforms, for example, freedom of speech or freedom online, or even women being able to wear a scarf only if they want to, I think it's very unlikely. President Raisi is close to the supreme leader, who sees himself as the guardian of the revolution and the values of the revolution, which are very religious and very conservative. And so it's unlikely he's going to turn away from them or steer Iran toward more cooperation with the West. Highly unlikely. In fact, I think the opposite. It's likely that Iran will develop a more confrontational style with both the U.S. and Europe.
Well, Iran's last presidential election was in 2017. Can you tell us more about what has changed in that time?
Well, the big pivot came when President Trump pulled the United States out of the nuclear deal. And that meant that, as I said, Iran's revenue and put on massive sanctions, more than before. And that, as I said before, really crippled Iran. I mean, it just has had so little money, and you see it everywhere. You see it in the inflation rate, in the extent to which people have to work 2 jobs just to scratch out a living. You see it in the general shoddiness of infrastructure. Everything feels down at heel, and that doesn't work very well. You know, Iran is a dispirited nation at the moment. People are really fed up, and some of them are despairing. That is the main difference since 2017, which was an optimistic moment when the country was going to elect a reformer, and people really thought this was the moment when Iran would cooperate better with the West and become more prosperous. Just the opposite happened.
You know, Elizabeth, it's been interesting following you out there and following the controversy with reformers deciding to sit this one out. And obviously, you've reported that Raisi's win was all but guaranteed. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about how the system works. And given that a majority of Iranians didn't bother to actually cast a vote, does he have legitimacy in the eyes of the people there?
That's an interesting question. The system is like this. Anybody can ask to run for president, but you have to apply. And then there's a religious board that sits and vets every candidate and eliminates the vast majority of them. So from 600, those who are allowed to run were whittled down to 7, all of them men, and none of them real reformers. And of those 7, Ebrahim Raisi already had the public profile and the backing of the supreme leader, so he was pretty much a shoo-in to win. As for that, more than half the population staying home, yes, I think that will give Raisi's government pause. He got just a little less a portion of the eligible vote than Joe Biden did, sort of 30-some%. But he also knows that half the country is so fed up. They have lost all confidence in this government, either to make things better or to be reformist, that they stayed home. And that means they're simmering. They're not happy. They could decide to hit the streets or protest in different ways. And he must be careful and mindful of that, because the last thing that Iran wants right now is people pouring into the streets in an open display of anger with the administration.
I've been so captivated by your reporting there, and I know that this is not your first time in Tehran. I'm wondering, especially because it's been so interesting seeing your interactions with people, especially with your government handlers there. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you feel, how people that you're interacting with feel, both about the United States and about President Biden now?
Sure. I should say that we don't have handlers per se. We talk to officials. They're cautious with us. They're suspicious of us because we represent the Western media and we're presumed to be sort of anti the religious theocracy here. But it's not like we're watched all the time, at least not that we would know. The administration is taking stock of Biden still. It wants to see his Middle East policy develop. It wants to see his relationship with Israel develop, and they want to take stock of him more as a man. So people with power are still in the waiting phase, eyeing him up. People who want reform will look at him as an open-sounding man, a negotiator, and maybe see a fresh start if only their own leaders were willing. But at the moment, I have to say again, that looks very unlikely.
Elizabeth, so illuminating, all of your reporting and the portrait that you have painted of Iranian life right now. Thank you.
Thank you.